well, 'tis the season to be scary. And I thought for Halloween this year, I would tell you a personal ghost story. Now, I can't say for definite it was a ghost. All I can say is it was a very odd situation for me, and I'm still perplexed about it. So shall we begin? So a couple of months ago, and this is the first time that I've divulged this story because I've kept it in the back of my head thinking, well, shall I, shan't I don't really know. And I thought, you know what, to heck with it. I'm just going to come out with it. So about 2 months ago, I got a phone call from my friend Vivian, and it was with regards to doing an investigation at an old derelict farmhouse. It was in Lincolnshire. And we've been invited there by a third party or second party. And so the evening came and I said, yeah, I jumped at it. Of course I did. I jumped at it. I really wanted to go. And so that evening I collected Viv and we drove over to Lincolnshire and to said farmhouse. Now, it was late. It was about 8 o'clock, pitch black, and this farmhouse, no electricity, was in the sort of just inside the field. And I remember walking across what was the old land, the crops, where the crops were planted, into the farmhouse itself. And as I walked in, I had Viv behind me, and I looked to my left, and there were 4 individuals inside. No, sorry, tell a lie. There were 3 individuals inside the lounge, and there were 2 or 3 individuals upstairs. I can't quite remember now. Overall, there was about 7 or 8 of us. Now, the thing that's really interesting about this story is that as I walked in, I said hello to the 3 guys that were inside the lounge. They all said hello back. And then they went ahead and they started to set their equipment up. I didn't take any notice. I walked off and I set some of my equipment up, and I wanted to do a vigil on my own in what used to be the utility room. So I finished that, and then I ambled into the lounge to see what the others were doing. And the 3 guys were in there, and they were just chatting. 2 of them were chatting to each other. And over in the corner, the far corner, as I walked in, they had a paranormal music box. So you guys know what it is. It's like a motion sensor that if an energy walks in front of it, it automatically trips it, and then it starts to play this creepy music. I've got one myself, so it's that type of thing. Now, I was looking at it, and I was probably, I don't know, maybe about 8 to 10 feet away from it, looking at it. And this thing was just playing in the background, and it was making all sorts of weird buzzes and noises. And I thought that it was just adjusting itself to the environment, that it had been just put there and it was getting itself set. But it turns out that that wasn't the case, because I was just standing there looking at it, and I asked this guy who's next to me, I said, is that meant to be doing that, or is that actually just setting itself up? Because I've got one, I haven't used it before, and I want to know what the situation is. If you've used it prior to this, then you obviously know how it works, and could you please explain it to me? Or is that an energy? Is there something weird going on here? What's happening? And the guy said to me, no, that's being set off by an energy. It's just, and he smiled at me and I smiled back at him. And then we just had a little bit of a conversation to and fro for a couple of minutes. And the 2 guys, the 3 of them that were in the room, the 2 guys were behind him. And it didn't register with me at all until we left the event. And Viv and myself were talking about the other investigators that were there. And I said, yeah, I was talking to one guy there. And I explained to him what he looked like. I said he had a beard, moustache, probably mid to late 60s. I said, and I was talking to him about this music box. So Viv went, there wasn't a guy there with a beard and moustache. Yes, there was. I was talking to him, having a conversation with this chap about this music box that had gone off, and I wanted to know whether it was resetting itself, or it was setting itself and bedding itself in, or whether there was an energy there. And the guy assured me that there must have been an energy there because it had been set off by it. So I was really close to this guy. I was like maybe a foot away, so I was very, very close. And I remember that. And then I think Viv questioned the validity with other investigators as to whether there was a third party there. And everybody that got back to Viv returned with the answer no. There was just the two guys. But I could see quite clearly three. Now, I don't know whether there's been a mix-up in the numbers, whether that guy was there in reality, or whether he was in the ethereal, whether he was a spirit. But it seems to be, I've gauged it, and it seems to be erring on the side of that I was actually speaking, or could possibly have been speaking to a spirit. But between you and I, this energy didn't look out of place. He didn't look any different than anybody else. He looked like a living, breathing human being, and he was dressed not unusual for today's standards, and certainly not unusual for that night. I remember he was wearing a jacket, just a pair of jeans and shoes, and that he was there. He was mingling with these other two investigators. I thought he was, and I thought he was part of the team, but apparently he wasn't. So I don't know. Maybe people are remembering things wrong. I don't know. I do remember that's how it happened, and to this day, I still question Viv as to whether she's winding me up about there not being a guy there with a beard. But to all intents and purposes, other people I've spoken to have came out with the same story, that man was not there. So I have no idea who I was talking to about this paranormal music box. And was this spirit, if he was a spirit and not a man, not a living, breathing man, was he explaining to me or trying to tell me in a roundabout way with a little smirk on his face that he was the energy that was setting this off? And the thing I noticed, that thinking back, that the guys that were in the room with him didn't really seem to acknowledge him, or even give any idea that he was his existence. And it was very, very weird. I can't tell you whether it was a ghost. I can't tell you whether he was a spirit. All I can say is it's very odd and unexplainable. So, yeah, that's it really for that story. I hope you enjoyed that. Hope it gave you a bit of food for thought. And happy Halloween.